All right. It's right before you go on stage. Are you ready? Or are you freaking out? You're thinking, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm ready for this. I don't know if I prepared enough. I'm not quite certain. What are my lines? What's the first thing I say? What am I gonna? How am I gonna handle the? What's gonna? How am I? If that feels familiar, then probably you haven't prepared the right way before going on stage. You see, it doesn't need to be like that. It really doesn't. And all too often, people go out there on stage and they're not really ready for it because they haven't done a few things. And because they haven't done those things, they go out there and they're just kind of stammering and humming and hawing, thinking, oh, what am I doing here and how do I handle this? As you know, there are different reactions people have. Some freeze, some try to fight, some try to leave, flee. So flight, freeze. Fight, freeze, and flight. Those are common things that happen to people when they go on stage. And of course, if you're running off the stage, or feel like you want to run off the stage, that's not good. Or if you just don't like that, that's not good either. And of course, this is really a bad way to give a speech. All right, I'm ready for you. Okay. Not going to be a good speech situation. So what do you do? What do you do in those situations where you get yourself up on stage, or even you're getting ready to get up on stage, and you just kind of feel that fear just kind of overwhelming you and just shutting you down, and you're freaking out and you're not sure what to do? Well, fortunately, there is something you can do. There are things you can do beforehand to get really ready. Because frankly, if you're up there and you're like this, and you're all like this, and you're all kind of, it's too late. And because you haven't had the right mindset, you get up there and you create a kind of a fear set. So you don't have the mindset, so you get a fear set. You get the fear set and you're like, okay, not sure what to do. And then it doesn't go well, quite frankly. People who get up on stage and they're just terrified and freaking out in their heart, it just doesn't go well. So it's all about understanding what it is you need to do beforehand. And it doesn't need to be a lot beforehand, like years in advance, maybe months and months and months in advance. No, but before you get on stage, and right before you get on stage, it's important to start thinking of things differently. Because if you don't, well, then things fall apart. So today, you're going to find out more about what really should be going through your head before you get up on stage, before you're actually out there in front of everybody, and just right before you even speak. Because there is that time before you get up on stage, and you can kind of work on things. There also is a time right before you can speak. You know, all people are thinking, oh, nothing I really can do. Everything's kind of limited by that. But there are things you can do if you get in the right mindset and you put aside the fear set. That's key. You're probably thinking, Tim, it sounds so easy. Yeah, put away mindset, create fear set. Sure, I mean, that'd be nice, but how do you do that? Well, as I said, unfortunately, there's a way to do that. A way to make that happen, a way to make that kind of unleash inside you. And it has to do about thinking of your speech and preparing for your speech in a slightly different way. Problem is, most people think about doing their speeches the wrong way. Because of that, they get into all sorts of weird fear-set situations. But it doesn't need to be that way. And that's what you'll find out about today, about the right way to get ready to get up on stage. And what happens to a lot of people is that before they even get up on stage, once they find out they're going to have to give a speech, or they decide, hey, I'm going to give a speech, the fear starts coming in. The fear just starts invading. You start thinking, oh, I can't do this. There's no way. I can't handle this. I can't get out there. I can't make that happen. There's no way. As they just sit there and think about it and go over in their head and like, I'm going to be in front of people and saying something and they're going to be looking at me and I'm going to be looking at them and if I say the wrong thing or if I do the wrong thing, then the whole thing just collapses. It's awful. And as they start thinking about this and the fear set takes over, it's like, this is not going to happen. I mean, there's no way I can do this, but I have to do it. I mean, it's part of my job, or it's something I've said I'm going to do, but I really don't want to do it. And they go back and forth and back and forth. But the most important thing to do at this point is to use your fear. Use your fear. You see, the one thing that people don't think about often is that fear is a motivator. Fear is a motivator. If you're afraid things are going to go awful when you get on stage, that should really motivate you to practice hard to make sure they don't go bad. Because if you do the work, if you practice, if you rehearse it, if you go over it, if you get it straight in your head, if you know what you're doing up there, then it's fine. Then everything just kind of falls into place. When it kind of falls into line, then everything's okay. If you really have done your work up there, and you really use that fear, because think about it. If your whole concern is, well, I'm so afraid if I get up on stage and bomb will be awful. Yeah, it's true. So don't make that happen. If you're so concerned about the fear of bombing on stage, then just don't bomb on stage. That means practice, rehearse, go over it, think about it, make it part of your day. Just run through your speech or your talk or whatever you're going to do. Just go through it. Use your fear to motivate you to really prepare, to really go over it, to keep memorizing it and doing it. Now, don't drive yourself crazy doing it. If you do it, say, a couple months in advance, if you can, and you go over your speech just once a day, just once, at the end of a month, you'll go over about 30 times. Once you go 30 times through a speech, you pretty well have a good idea what you're talking about. And as the months go on, then you do 60 times. 2 months, 60 times. That's pretty extensive. But what gets you doing it at all, gets you doing it even coming up there, is thinking, oh, I don't want to go up there and be unprepared. That wouldn't be good. That's why that fear, that worry about being unprepared can motivate you to make sure you're prepared. So it's not that difficult. Just prepare. Just work on it. Just go over it. Go over it once, and then you think about something. Oh, yeah, I could have done this, or I might switch that around. I could change that, or that flowed differently. Do a dry run in front of your friends, or in front of a friend you trust. And see, what did you think? What did you like? What didn't work? Get some feedback from your friends, what they're thinking about, what their ideas are about it. And as you start using your fear to motivate you to really practice and get going, you'll discover that fear is a great motivator. And the more you use your fear, the more you say, okay, I want to make sure I'm prepared when I get up there. Once you actually get prepared and you say, oh, I've done this 30 times, I've done this 60 times, okay, I've done this enough times, I know this stuff. It's there. I've gone over it so many times. I really, really know what the heck I'm saying, because I've done it that many times. And then you find your fear goes away, because you don't need your fear to motivate you anymore, because you're there. You've got a sense of what you're doing, got a sense of what you're talking about, a sense of what you're going to say, because you've been going over it every day. And when you get that sort of certainty, going over something again and again, we get to the point where it's like, okay, I know this so well, I would have to try to forget something, because I really know it really well. So, one thing you do to get ready to go on stage is to use your fear. All right, you've done it. You've done it. You've been practicing, been using your fear, and you've really gone over stuff, and you really understand it. You really know it. You really kind of got it down. You've gone over it with your friend, back and forth. You kind of understand what you're going to talk about. You feel that kind of confidence in you. You're feeling good. You get up there, and then you get just about ready to get up on stage, and you see the audience. And it's a lot more than just your friend. There's a fair amount of people out there. And as you look at them, you get a little nervous. You start thinking, I don't know, getting a little nervous, getting a little scared here. When that happens, remember to breathe. Breathe. Maybe you're thinking, Tim, I already breathe. I don't need you to remind me to breathe. I mean, I'm breathing. But the amazing thing is, if you're in that nervous situation where you've just seen your audience right before you go up on stage, right before you go out on stage, or if you're even out there on stage looking at the audience, probably, if it's kind of shocking and nervous to you, probably you're not breathing. Probably you're not breathing. In fact, quite often people get nervous, upset, worried. It happens because they've simply forgotten to breathe. You're thinking, Tim, that sounds weird. How can you forget to breathe? It's something your body does. You just hold your breath without realizing it. So, when you're holding your breath without realizing, the simplest thing to do is to start breathing. Makes sense, right? You're not breathing, so if you start breathing, you'll feel better. So force yourself to breathe. Right before you go out on stage, and heck, even if you're already on stage, just start counting by 1,000. 1,001, 1,002, 1,003 in breath, and then 1,001, hold it for 1,001, and then 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, out breath. So hold, out breath. And do that again. Ideally right before you get on stage, but if you happen to be on stage, you can do that a little bit. Doesn't matter with pausing before you speak. It'll just get your audiences quiet down and focusing their attention on you, which is where it should be. And if you do that, you'll notice you start calming way down because you're breathing. Breathing slowly naturally relaxes your body. It untenses your muscles. It relaxes your heart. It relaxes your speech. It just relaxes you. It's a simple, powerful, natural way to calm down. Just breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. Remember to count 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, 1,001. Hold for 1,001, and then 1,001, 1,002, 1,003 in the out breath. The reason you count 1,000, because this forces you to actually count slowly. When you're thinking something, or when you're thinking something, you quite often will think much faster than you think you're thinking. So if you say 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, that slows things down enough to breathe in comfortably, breathe out comfortably. And then as you find yourself relaxing more and more, you look out on the audience, you think, hey, this is doable. Because I practice this, I use my fear, now I'm breathing, so that's fine. And you'll get a new sense of comfort, a new sense of ability, a new sense of being able to get out there and really give them. Give them what you've been practicing on. Give them it all. Make it all happen. So in using your fear and in breathing, you've done a lot to get ready to take the stage. Okay, you've used your fear. you studied, you've gone over your speech over and over, at least once a day, maybe twice. You know it very cold. It's just so well, you know it, that to get rid of it, to make a change, you'd have to work at it to do it wrong. You just know it. And you're breathing. You're doing the 1001, 1002, 1003 thing to make sure when you start talking, you're going to breathe. And before you start talking, your body's relaxed, your body's comfortable, you're ready to go. But there's one more thing you can do which will really help you as a speaker. It'll take your speaking up to a whole new level, and it'll be the final step in getting rid of any nervousness, any fear, any fright, flight, freeze tendencies you have. And that is to focus on your audience. Focus on your audience. A natural tendency people have when they have spotlights on them is to think, hey, it's all about me. The lights are on me. Look at me. Pay attention to me. And some people love that. Hey, it's great. It's fantastic. Just pay attention. It's all about me. It's the me show. But many people don't like that. They get nervous. They're in the spotlight. All of a sudden they're expected to do something. They're thinking, well, I can't juggle and I don't know what to do. I'm expected to perform up here, but I don't know how to perform. But if you change your idea from performance to simply the idea of having a conversation with your audience, changes everything. So if you think up there as performance and you're thinking, oh, I got to perform, I got to juggle, I got to do something amazing. And then you get nervous because it's like, wait a minute, I can't do that. But if you just focus on your audience and think, I'm just going to have a conversation with my audience. I'm going to focus my attention out on them because ultimately it's not important what I'm thinking, what I'm doing. It's important what they're thinking and what communicates to them. And in focusing out on your audience, you will discover any tension, any nervousness you have about what do I look and how am I standing and is my voice squeaky or not, just goes away because none of that matters. None of that matters. All that matters is your attention, your energy, your focus is all out there on your audience. Everything you do on stage is for the audience. And as you realize that, the point is not to say, hey, look at me and the lights up here. The point is to get the audience to say, hey, think about your own life. Think about your own situation. Think about where you are, what you want to do with that. And as the audience starts thinking about their own life, their own situation, as you start having this conversation back and forth with your audience, you'll discover the nervousness goes out of you just as it does if you're having a regular conversation. Very few people get nervous having a conversation like, oh, I got to have a conversation with this person. I'm not quite sure what to do. Well, I'll talk, and what if they said to me? Usually conversations are a nerve-wracking thing. Well, speeches can be the same thing as conversation, the same sort of feeling. You're simply focusing on another person and trying to get some information to them and focusing out that way. And then it's back and forth. So it's like a spotlight. First the spotlight swings in the audience. It's all about the audience. And then the spotlight swings back to you. And then the audience. Back and forth. But everything ultimately goes back to the audience. Even if you say, I did this, you've got to tie in the audience somewhere. And you might have done that sort of thing too. Or maybe you remember when you did the same thing. Or if you've ever done the same thing. Find a way, all of your speeches, everything you're talking about there, to focus out on the audience. To make it that conversation, back and forth conversation. Comfortable, easy, enjoyable. That's what does it. And once you're focusing on the audience, the last of any tension you have fades away. Become more confident, more certain of yourself, more aware. Because instead of being just, hey, I've got to do something up here, it's okay. Are you getting it? Are you understanding it? As you see your audience nod, smile, and lean forward, you're saying, hey, they're getting it. That's great. I'm having a great conversation here. Then the last of that nervousness goes away, and you can just give your speech. It can be nerve-wracking to give a speech. So you follow these 3 tips, you can get a lot of that pressure out, maybe even all of it. First thing to do is to use your fear. Use your fear. If you're scared of an upcoming presentation, great. Make sure you prepare for it, you work for it. And if you're working for it, you're doing the work to get it done, to make sure you're aware of everything, then that nervousness kind of fades off, fades away. Because hey, you're working. You're doing the work. And you know, hey, when I get out there, I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be prepared. I've gone through this stuff. I know this stuff. I've done it over and over and over again. I know this stuff. I've done it 30 times, 60 times. I can say this. I can do this. I can get up there on stage and do this and communicate and really make it work because I'm using that fear. When you use your fear to motivate you to really work on the speech, it's great because then all of a sudden all the things you're afraid of just fade away. Your fear fades away. Because the fear has done what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to motivate you to do something, and it has, so your fear naturally fades away. And then, as you're right about you're ready to go on stage, or to your first moment on stage, breathe. Breathe. It's so simple to forget to breathe. People do it all the time without realizing it. They just suddenly, and that's it. You heard of that expression, you make me breathless, or you took my breath away? That's literally what happens when people have a shock or something surprising or nervousness. They stop breathing. It takes their breath away. So remember to breathe. When you breathe, just count to 1,000. 1,001, 1,002, 1,003 on the in-breath. Hold for 1,001, 1,001, 1,002, 1,003 on the out-breath. And in doing that, you relax, you calm down, you're ready to go out on stage. Or if you're out there on stage already, you relax, you're ready to go. And then finally, focus on your audience. Focus on your audience. Hey, it's not about you up on stage. It's about your audience and your audience's lives. It's about what your audience has in their head. What do they take away with them? What are they getting out of your speech? That's what matters. So in focusing on your audience, focusing your audience out there and saying, okay, I want to make sure I get the energy out there. 2 things happen. One is you don't have the flight, freeze, or fight syndrome because it's not about you anymore. And since it's not about you, you don't feel like that animal trapped in the open. It's simply about them. And by creating a conversation with the audience, by having a conversation with your audience and focusing on your audience, the nervousness just flows out. It just goes away. It's gone. It's not there anymore. Because you're making that connection to the audience, you're making the audience get it. The audience is thinking, okay, yeah, I understand that. I get it now. And focusing on your audience, all of a sudden, they get it. And your tension naturally eases and flows away. And if you do just these 3 things, preparing for a speech and before you get on stage and when you get on stage, you'll discover a whole new sense of relaxation, a whole new sense of calmness, a whole new sense of serenity, a whole new sense of purpose. And as you give your speech and you look around at people and you see them nodding, you see them leaning forward, you make eye contact and you see they're getting it, you feel good because you know you're making that communication. And afterwards they'll come up to you and say, that was really great. I really felt what you were talking about. This is going to help me in my life a lot. Here's all the things it's going to help me with. And people feel a need to share because after all you're having a conversation and they feel they want to do their part of the conversation too and communicate with you and get back with you, and then you have that back and forth beautiful conversation. And it all happens because you prepare yourself and get ready just before and while you're on stage.